In this country, you do get to undermine the president of the United States.
Not if you're in the military.
No.
He's the commander-in-chief.
If you are a member of Congress, you absolutely, in this country, have a free right to undermine the president of the United States. You know that, right?
The commander-in-chief.
The argument that the Democrats were making in that video, because the fact is the military is not obligated to follow illegal orders.
Who's giving the illegal orders? Where are they?
You're not obligated to follow illegal orders.
In today's video, Sam Seder destroys Terry on the CNN show as the two clash over Trump's escalating rhetoric and what it really means for the country. Sam Seder's argument lines up with actual military protocol. Service members are required to refuse illegal orders, while Terry's points hit on the broader public fear of political chaos. And both are backed by real data showing that every time Trump ramps up talk of traitors, threats of political violence rise. So let's dive in and watch how Sam Seder shuts down Terry on the CNN show.
There's been a decade of insults, provocations, controversies. You named the line, and Trump has pretty much crossed it. But did he go too far this time? 6 Democrats released a video telling service members to disobey illegal orders. The president called them traitors. He said that they could be executed for seditious behavior. He even promoted another message that called for their hangings. One columnist says it's all a distraction from the bad news that he's been facing this week, from Epstein to the economy. Now, while that could most certainly be true, can it be ignored? Should it be ignored? Especially when those lawmakers say that his rhetoric is putting their lives actually in danger. After all, Trump and Republicans get angry when when Democrats, liken his behavior to a fascist or a dictator. But calling for the execution of political opponents fits the definition. And it's certainly more extreme than calling someone a descriptor. I mean, do you think that, I hear this sort of like, don't fall for the okie doke, he's just trying to distract you thing from Democrats a lot. Do you think this falls into that category, or is it something else?
Well, I mean, I think, frankly, you've got two sides that are preparing for perhaps what's going to happen over the course of the next year. Donald Trump's approval ratings are dismal. The Republican Party is on their back heels. They got destroyed, wiped out in a way that I haven't seen in 20 years in those elections 2 weeks ago. And so I think there's genuine concern amongst a lot of people in the country that Donald Trump is going to send in troops. He's already got these 500-person rapid response forces that are beginning to train and are going to be able to be deployed by spring. I think there's a lot of people who are concerned about what's going to happen over the course of the next 12 months in the run-up to the midterm elections. And I think the Democrats were trying to get out in front of that, and I think Donald Trump is trying to prevent them from getting out in front of it. And, you know, his rhetoric is, of course,
terrifying.
Extreme.
His rhetoric is terrifying.
It's terrifying, but I think it's also indicative of what he's willing to do over the course of the next 12 months to make sure that Republicans retain the House.
No, I mean, but what do you mean? Do you mean in terms of actually following through on the threats, or what?
Well, I think there is a concern that Donald Trump is going to try and prevent the midterm elections from happening.
Okay, you're talking about these are the illegal orders.
Oh, okay, that he's trying to. Oh,
okay.
But let's just talk about just what's happening right now and how we just think that he's planning ahead. What world do we live in when a president gives an idea that, yes, I think execution is okay for my political opponents? What world do we live in when we just ignore that and we don't talk about what that actually means? Because we're used to what he's done. He's numbed us. We're normalizing his behavior. I think that's really dangerous. And I think all of it, yes, it is a distraction. Yes, it is something for us to pay attention to. But how dangerous is it as we come off of an assassination of Charlie Kirk?
The thing about this conversation between Sam Seder and Cari Champion is that they're both tapping into two equally real parts of the current political moment. Sam is right to point out that Trump isn't just being loud, he's telegraphing strategy. Historically, whenever a political leader starts talking about traitors and enemies from within, it's often tied to an attempt to consolidate power or justify extraordinary actions. Political scientists have noted that authoritarian-leaning leaders use extreme rhetoric months before attempting something destabilizing because it primes supporters to accept it. So Sam's warning about preparation and escalation isn't alarmist. It fits a pattern we've seen in countries like Turkey, Hungary, and Brazil before their democratic backslides. At the same time, Cari Champion is absolutely right about the danger of normalization. We now live in a country where threats against lawmakers have risen 400% since 2016, and the FBI has repeatedly confirmed that political rhetoric, especially from high-profile figures, directly fuels spikes in violent threats. This isn't abstract. Members of Congress now regularly wear bulletproof vests at public events, and multiple states have had to relocate election workers because of safety concerns. That's the environment these statements land in, and the assassination she references underscores that violence isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening. When a former president suggests execution for political opponents, even if he doesn't follow through, it sends a signal to the most extreme corners of his base. Both Sam and Kerry are basically highlighting two sides of the same danger, the strategy and the impact. And taken together, it shows why this rhetoric can't just be brushed off as Trump being Trump.
How dangerous is it to hear him
so
say
glad you
this
brought that up,
as if
because-
someone
because
is
the violence in this country is one-sided, and everyone knows it, right? What Trump is
Tell me
talking about
more.
is sedition,
Tell me
which is a
more.
law and order process. It goes, by the way, you know, George Washington had generals who did insurrections put to death as well, right? So like that's our first president that we ever had. Trump is.
Wait, hold on.
Let me just be clear.
Are you suggesting that Trump is right that these Democrats
No,
should
what
be
I'm
put
saying
to
is,
death?
which is that you're taking him literally instead of seriously. What he is obviously
I'm sorry,
pointing out.
he's the
Hold on.
president of the United
we're
States. I think it is warranted to take him quite
But
literally.
you fall for this game every
I'm
time.
sorry, he is not not candidate Trump anymore. It's President Trump.
What's the
But what
game?
those
He gets
Democrats
to be
are doing
taken
is
seriously.
absolutely treasonous. It's disloyal. They are causing division within the military. Who's issuing unlawful
How is
orders?
that treason?
The same type of normalizing of violent rhetoric that led to the assassinations that we've seen. That's come from DNR. I mean, we've seen.
Which are?
I'm saying I think
Democratic
there's been,
lawmakers in Minnesota
Oh,
were
the ones that were
assassinated.
killed after the Medicaid wasn't expanded to illegal immigrants.
Hold
the
on.
ones that,
Wait, excuse me?
It's just
What?
all. It's
No.
just
Are you
all-
saying that's
sorry.
okay?
No,
What are you-
I'm
what are you
saying they were
saying?
Democrats that killed them.
No,
This is not
you don't-
Republicans
it
killing
wasn't- you don't know
Democrats.
that.
No, that is
I'm sorry.
not
You do not know that.
Because Charlie Kirk was actually a friend.
I understand
And to hear
that,
people
but-
talk about Donald Trump and Republicans
I'm sorry,
inciting
but Terry,
violence, it's just crazy.
The
It's
history
crazy. I'm
of
sorry.
political violence in this country is not a Democrat story. That is factually inaccurate.
It is in the last 5 years.
No, it is in the last 1 year. One, single. Okay? This year, 2025, is the first and only year in the last 20 years where left-wing violence has exceeded right-wing violence. That is a fact. In the last 5 years, it's been 4 years, it's right-wing violence, 1 year left-wing violence.
Abby, Philip, and Terry really speaks to how complicated political violence has become in the US. And honestly, both of them are touching on important truths that people tend to gloss over. Abby is absolutely right to sound the alarm about how normalized Trump's rhetoric has become. The Department of Homeland Security has repeatedly warned that extreme political language from elected officials, especially language referencing execution, traitors, or sedition, significantly increases the likelihood of lone wolf violence. This isn't theoretical. Threats against public officials hit an all-time high in 2024, with over 10,000 documented cases, and intelligence agencies directly tied many of them to escalating rhetoric on national platforms. But Terry raises something real too. Political violence hasn't been totally one-sided, even if one side has clearly driven the majority of it in recent years. The Center for Strategic and International Studies actually tracks this stuff, and Terry's right that while right-wing violence has dominated most of the past 2 decades, 2025 is the first year where left-wing incidents temporarily surged, largely because of a few concentrated events rather than a broad movement. That context matters, even if it doesn't change the core point. Political violence in any direction is dangerous, destabilizing, and often exploited by extremists to justify even more escalation. And that's where both Abby and Terry converge without saying it outright. Their arguments point to the same underlying danger. Once political actors start tossing around words like treason and execution, it doesn't matter whether you take them literally or seriously, but not literally. Someone out there will take them to heart. In a country already on edge, that's exactly the spark that institutions have been warning about for years. Both perspectives underscore why this rhetoric isn't just noise, it's fuel.
So you can have the aperture only be expanded to the last 10 months, but in the history of this modern political time, that is just not accurate. But even if it were,
He's
if
not allowed to
Donald
say that.
Trump thinks that there is a problem of political violence in this country, why on earth
Would he say
are
that?
comments like these acceptable to
Sedition
you?
is a lawful process. You have to be
Sure.
tried and convicted in the court of law. He's not
But
encouraging
you
people.
actually
He's not saying
believe,
this is Hitler.
But hold on a second.
These people are
You
fascists.
actually believe that Democrats putting out a video saying follow the law
I think
is
it was
sedition?
terrible. I think it was terrible.
You think that's sedition?
And look, we've already seen Democrats weaponize
Terry,
the
let me
government.
ask you a question. Do you think that Democrats putting out a video saying follow
Why do you need
illegal
to tell
orders,
people to follow the law?
do you think that is sedition?
What, everyone in the
It's
military
a
knows you
yes
need to
or no.
follow
It
the
is a
law.
yes or no question.
I
Is it
think-
sedition to tell people to follow the law?
I think Democrats have a long and standing history of undercutting
I'm just
and undermining
saying
the
you're
Constitution.
not
and
willing
our-
to say yes or no because it's very obvious
Clear.
that the answer is no.
Because if
if that were the case,
It's a
then,
wink
then,
and a nod. That's the
then a
reason.
lot of
Their
things would
words
be
are
sedition.
perfectly.
We
It's a
would be
perfect
executing
video,
people left, right,
but
and
it's a
center.
wink and a nod, and it's all meant to undermine the president of the United States. The military does not have a right to
Guess
undermine
what?
the chief.
Hold on a second. In this country, you do get to undermine the president of the United States.
Not if you're in the military.
No.
He's the
No.
commander-in-chief.
If you are a member of Congress, you absolutely, in this country, have a free
accountability.
right
But they're
to
calling
undermine
on
the
the
president of the
military
United
to
States. You know that,
undermine
right?
the commander-in-chief.
Just made the argument that the Democrats were making in that video, because the fact is the military is not obligated to follow illegal orders.
Who's giving the illegal orders? Where
Well,
are they?
You're not obligated to follow illegal orders.
Okay,
period.
then what illegal orders are they talking about?
Well,
they're
they're
just
in the future.
just in case.
In the future, yeah.
Because you're
just in the case.
because they're
right
all
now
crazy.
we have a
No
judge
one's
who
gonna stop
said
the midterms.
Trump's,
No one's gonna stop the midterms.
Trump's sending in.
Who just came
national-
up with the conspiracy
Trump's sending
theory
in
that
the-
Republicans are going to stop the midterms?
Trump's
That's
sending in-
crazy. That's a conspiracy theory.
All right.
Calling
We
it
have to
law.
leave it there.
All right, man.
You got it.
We have to leave it there.
This back and forth between Abby, Sam Seder, and Terry really hits at one of the biggest tensions in American politics right now, where the line is between legitimate warnings and political paranoia. And honestly, both sides in this exchange are tapping into real-world concerns that data actually backs up. Abby and Sam are absolutely right about one thing. The US military is legally required to reject unlawful orders. That's not a partisan interpretation. That's baked into the Uniform Code of Military Justice, reinforced after atrocities like My Lai, Abu Ghraib, and even earlier, Nuremberg. Military scholars have repeatedly noted that Trump's past attempts to push for legally questionable actions, like using active duty troops for domestic policing, beyond what the Insurrection Act allows, were major stress tests on this principle. So raising awareness isn't sedition, it's historically grounded. But Terry isn't pulling his concerns from thin air either. Politicizing the military is something national security experts have been warning about for years, not just under Trump, but even during debates about Bush-era interrogations and Obama-era drone strikes. The Pentagon's own reports highlight increasing polarization among service members, with nearly 40% expressing concern about political pressure creeping into military decisions. So when Terry talks about undermining the chain of command, he's echoing something real, a fear that mixed messaging from elected officials could erode internal cohesion. What's wild is that both sides are actually reacting to the same underlying problem, a political system that keeps pushing the military into the center of partisan conflict. Whether it's Trump floating martial law in 2020, governors sending National Guard troops to the border for political stunts, or Congress members issuing preemptive warnings, everyone's feeding the same fire. And that's why this conversation matters. Abby and Sam focus on legal safeguards. Terry focuses on institutional stability. Both are essential if this country wants to prevent political violence from escalating even further, no matter which direction it comes from. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. how are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.